Most YouTube videos about Donkey Kong 64 discuss whether it still holds up, why people love it, or why they think it ruined the 3D platformer genre. But in this video, I want you to relive the game, the moments, the memories, and the nostalgia. I'll take you through 33 iconic moments, from the iconic rap, to the levels, the characters, the Easter eggs, and to the final battle with King K. Rool himself. Let's relive Donkey Kong 64. Most games begin with some instrumental music and a few quick highlights from the game, but Donkey Kong 64 starts out with a rap, one that always reminds me of Run DMC's It's Tricky. Every verse introduces one of 5 playable Kongs and their abilities, while the chorus DK, Donkey Kong, instantly gets stuck in your head. The rap is so bad and corny that I actually think it's good. Before you even start playing, you already know this is a game that doesn't take itself too seriously and you're in for a party. You don't meet the main villain, King K. Rool, until the very end of the game, but you see him in cutscenes between levels. He's either plotting against the DK crew or blaming one of his minions when things go wrong. This style of storytelling was common back in the day, not just in Rare's Banjo-Kazooie and Conker's Bad Fur Day, but also in games like Paper Mario and Rayman 2. I feel like modern games focus more on the hero and introduce villains by having you meet them throughout the game, rather than showing what they're doing in cutscenes. Donkey Kong 64 is packed with collectibles. It's even in the Guinness World Records for the platform game with the most collectibles, 3,821 to be exact. But the main collectibles are the golden bananas. There are 201 to collect, 40 for each Kong, plus 1 for collecting all the banana fairies. But the best part about collecting a golden banana is the sound effect. It really underlines the game's humor, and I can't stop smiling whenever I hear it. It even makes me forget the frustrating stuff you had to do to get it. In DK64, you don't just play as one character, but 5 different ones. The Kongs not only have their own abilities, but they also have their own color-coded collectibles. Sometimes it feels like you're playing 5 different playthroughs of the same game at the same time. The tag barrels let you switch between characters by jumping into one. One of the most frustrating things about DK64 though is actually finding the tag barrels when you need them. The frustration is so real that there even exists a ROM hack that lets you switch characters anywhere without the barrels. In modern games, fast travel is pretty standardized. You open a map and select your destination. Back in the day, every game seemed to have its own way of doing it. In Zelda, you played the ocarina. In Paper Mario, you used warp pipes. In Pokemon, you used fly. DK64 had numbered paths that came in pairs. Once you found both, you could banana port between them. While selecting a location on a map is more practical, there's something nostalgic about remembering where the banana portals are. With GPS, smartphones and AI, I sometimes feel like I've lost the ability to remember basic stuff. One of the most iconic mechanics from the Donkey Kong Country series was the blast barrels, where you have to time when and where to launch DK. The mechanic was also transformed into 3D, but while the blast barrels in the 2D games felt more like survival and getting from A to B, the 3D counterpart feels more like exploration of the sky. Completing the barrel course always made some change of the level's environment that unlocked new areas to explore and new abilities to use. DK Isles is the hub world of Donkey Kong 64, connecting all 8 levels, but it feels like much more than just a place to pick your next level. Like the actual levels, there are 25 golden bananas to collect, and several require a chain of events using different Kongs and their unique abilities. DK Isle is a mountain shaped like Donkey Kong's head, while King K. Rool's ship sits in the water with a giant version of his head on it. Donkey Kong represents nature, while K. Rool's sides is ugly dark metal. The two facing heads represent their conflict. Jungle Japes is the game's first level. It takes place in a jungle, the environment you probably associate most with Donkey Kong. The level has palm trees you can climb, vines you can swing from, and you even get to ride Rampy the rhinoceros. After getting your coconut cannon from Funky Kong, you can free Diddy Kong, who is trapped inside the mountain. Jungle Japes end with a boss fight against the fire-shooting armadillo, who also tries to run you over. Luckily, barrels of dynamite keep popping up, giving you everything you need to win the battle. Angry Aztec is the second level of DK64 and takes place in a desert. Here you meet Candy Kong, unlock the musical instruments, and free Lanky and Tiny Kong. You also free a camel, which gives you access to an ancient temple. It can even turn lava into water by spitting. The level reminds me of the desert in Banjo-Kazooie, with a somewhat empty outside area, but plenty of ways to unlock temples and find collectibles. The level's boss is a dragon, Dogadan, and his fight feels very similar to armadillos, with avoiding fire and throwing barrels. Frantic Factory is the third level, a dark and creepy toy factory. Imagine the Death Star with living toys instead of stormtroopers. Here you climb building blocks, race a toy car, play the legendary DK arcade game, and literally get inside the machinery. You also unlock the final member of the DK crew, Chunky Kong. The boss is Mad Jack, an evil Jack in the Box. He's probably the best boss in the game. He actually feels like he belongs in the level. And the ground pounding mechanic with the colored blocks adds a little puzzle element to the fight. Gloomy Galleon is the fourth level of DK64, and most of it takes place underwater. Luckily, all the Kongs are good swimmers and can breathe underwater. You help a mermaid recover her stolen pearls, play as the swordfish Angard, plunder sunken ships for bananas, and explore a lighthouse. Like the water temple in Zelda and Wet Dry World in Mario, you can change the water level, determining what you can access and collect. The boss, Puff Toss, is a giant pufferfish, and you can take him down by sailing through DK signs to electrify him. Funky Forest is the fifth level of DK64. Here you enter a watermill, a giant mushroom tower, find a new home for an apple, and raise the animals of the forest. The level reminds me of Click Clock Wood in Banjo-Kazooie, where you explore a forest through the 4 seasons. In Funky Forest, you can change night to day by shooting the clock, changing which areas you can access. The idea is fun, but the mechanic feels a little forced at times. The boss is a rematch with Dogadan, but this time he's tougher with faster attacks and rising lava. Crystal Caves is the 6th level of DK64. In several places, ice is blocking your way, but luckily Chunky's fist can break through it. You have to keep moving, since rocks are frequently falling from the sky. You visit an igloo, explore cabins that feels like ski lodges, and race a beetle down a slippery slide. While it is an ice level, it doesn't feel like the generic ice level you find in so many games. The boss is a rematch with Armadillo, who apparently has learned to fly since the last time you saw him. Creepy Castle is the 7th and final main level of DK64. The whole level is a floating castle with a spiraling boardwalk leading to the top. You explore creepy dungeons at the bottom, at the museum, library and ballroom near the top. Instead of actual ghosts, the gremlins cover themselves in sheets, a perfect example of the game's humor. The level is more compact than the others, making it useful for Diddy's jet battle. The boss is literally a giant cardboard cut out of King K. Rool, which you destroy by shooting Lanky into it. Donkey Kong is the leader of the DK crew. He is the only Kong who can use the barrel blast, transform into Rampy, the rhinoceros, and turn invisible to walk across quicksand, lava and deadly machinery. Although Chunky is bigger, DK is the only one who can pull the levers. His coconut cannon was originally designed as a shotgun, but was allegedly changed to suit a younger audience. DK plays the bongos, something you also see in Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. After collecting bananas in 5 different colors, switching back to DK and seeing those familiar yellow bananas again feels like a relief. Diddy Kong is smaller and feels quicker than Donkey Kong, and he collects the red bananas. The best thing about Diddy is his ability to fly with the jet barrel, which worked like a jetpack. It's hard to control, and like the wing cap in Super Mario 64, it sometimes feels like it's trying to kill you. Diddy also has the Chimpy charge, which is mostly used to press wall buttons or ring gongs. Diddy doesn't just shoot one peanut, he has 2 peanut pop guns, and he plays the electric guitar when needed. Tiny Kong's primary ability is right there in her name, and she collects the purple bananas. By jumping into a barrel, she can become tiny and go wherever a mouse would fit. She can also flutter through the air using her helicopter hair. It's still a mystery why they introduced another blonde-haired Kong when Dixie already exists. Towards the end of the game, she also gains the ability to teleport to some pretty unexpected places. She plays the sax and shoots a crossbow with feathers. I would describe Lanky as Goofy of the DK crew thanks to his looks, sounds and floppy limbs. By walking on his hands, he can climb steep surfaces, a bit like Kazooie in Banjo-Kazooie. He can also inflate himself like a balloon, similar to Mario in Super Mario World. Lanky shoots grapes from a grape shooter and plays the trombone. He can also transform into the swordfish Angard, who can destroy chests and wooden boards and jump like a dolphin. Imagine Abu from Aladdin getting fat and taking steroids, and you have Chunky. He's the biggest, strongest and slowest of the Kongs and collects the green bananas. His powerful fist let him destroy metal gates, ice and almost anything else in his way. When he jumps into a barrel, he gets even bigger, which is useful for dealing with bosses and large enemies. While Chunky has a very masculine exterior, he also has a more feminine side, which comes out when he's swimming and playing the triangle. His weapon of choice is the pineapple launcher, which looks like a rocket launcher or bazooka, whatever the difference is. Cranky Kong acts as a guide, and the first time you meet him, he forces you to complete a training course just to enter the first level. Cranky is like James Bond's Q, but instead of providing gadgets, he gives you potions that expand the Kong's abilities, like Donkey's invisibility or Diddy's jet battle. He's called Cranky for a reason, and he's not afraid to criticize the Kongs or break the fourth wall with jokes about the game. Cranky even has a special prize for you if you collect 15 banana medals. Funky Kong runs a weapon store and sells the iconic weapons to the Kongs. Donkey gets the coconut cannon, Diddy gets the peanut pop guns, Lanky gets the grape shooter, Tiny gets the feather bow, and Chunky gets the pineapple launcher. Later in the game, Funky even upgrades the arsenal with a sniper scope and homing ammunition. Snide is the engineer behind King K. Rool's mobile island fortress and the Blastomatic, a weapon that feels like DK64's version of the Death Star, capable of destroying entire islands. Snide was fired by King K. Rool and wants revenge on his former boss. By defeating Casplats and collecting their blueprints, you can hand them to Snide in exchange for golden bananas. Each blueprint also disables the Blastomatic for an extra minute, giving you more time to complete the final level, Hideout Helm. And every time Snide gives you a banana, a silly chain reaction plays out, like an invention from Wallace and Gromit. Candy Kong runs a music store in DK64 where she sells instruments to the Kongs. Donkey gets the bongos, Diddy gets the electric guitar, Lanky gets the trombone, Tiny gets the sax, and Chunky gets the triangle. Candy also has some huge melons. I know what you're thinking. You get the first one in Angry Aztec, and the second in Crystal Caves, increasing your health to 3 melons total. Candy also kind of saves the day in the final boss fight by distracting King K. Rool with her beauty and her corny soundtrack. K-Lumsy is a gigantic Kremling and King K. Rool's younger brother. Unlike his evil brother, K-Lumsy has a good heart. When he was ordered to destroy Donkey Kong's island, he refused and ended up a cage with 8 locks. You get a key to his cage every time you defeat a boss, and K-Lumsy gets so happy that he jumps around, creating a small earthquake that breaks rocks or somehow opens up a new level for the Kongs to explore. K-Lumsy's jumps are probably the weirdest way I ever seen a game unlock a new level. Most 3D platformers have a main collectible that controls your progress, like stars, orbs or crystals. Rare likes to complicate things. In Banjo-Kazooie, you collected both jiggies and musical notes to progress. In DK64, you enter levels by showing your golden bananas to B-Logger. Entering the boss is another story. You feed Truff bananas until he's heavy enough to sink, lifting Scuff up to the key to the boss door. K-Lumsy has the weirdest way to unlock a level, but Truff and Scuff definitely had the weirdest way to unlock a boss fight. Entering a bonus barrel lets you play a bonus stage. It really sounds like the announcer says, "Welcome to bonus stage."
Welcome to bonus stage!
Which makes no sense. There are 13 different minigames and most take place literally inside a barrel. The games themselves have nothing to do with the level you found them in, making them sometimes feel stuffed in. The most frustrating game is probably the slot machine, Batty Barrel Bandit. My favorite is Big Buck Bash. I just love killing flies with a fly swapper. And the most memorable one is probably Beaver Bother, where you herd beavers into a hole as a small crocodile. One of the signatures of Donkey Kong Country was its minecart levels. In DK64, you get 3 minecart rides to try. Diddy rides a minecart from the mountain in Jungle Japes, Chunky rides a minecart from the well in Funky Forest, and DK rides the haunted minecart in Creepy Castle. While Donkey Kong Country was mostly about avoiding falling off, DK64 is about collecting enough coins without getting hit by obstacles. You're not only controlling your jumps and which track to take, but also your speed. Either way, the minecart is always a highlight. There are multiple racing minigames in DK64. I like that they fit into the environment instead of feeling stuffed in like the bonus stage barrels. Winning isn't enough, you also have to collect a certain number of coins and avoid losing them by hitting your opponent or obstacles. The beetle races in Angry Aztec and Crystal Caves remind me of the slides in Super Mario 64. In Gloomy Galleon, you race a shield on the water like Ray Ray 64. Finally, you race a toy car as Tiny in Frantic Factory. probably the only toy in the factory that doesn't look evil. Every level features a battle arena where you have to survive for 60 seconds to earn a battle crown. The challenge isn't so much avoiding getting hit, but avoiding falling off the platform. The idea is fun and had a lot of potential, but you often fight the same enemies and the battle arenas feel stuffed into the levels, much like the bonus stages. After gaining the ability to shrink tiny, you can visit the Banana Fairy Queen. She gives you a camera to capture her missing fairies. SD cards weren't popular in '99, so you also have to collect film for the camera to work. You find 2 fairies in each level and they're generally manageable to photograph, except for one in Gloomy Galleon behind bars underwater, which was a pain. Once you gathered all the fairies, the queen rewards you with golden banana number 201. The fairies also unlock things like minigames, boss replays and a theater mode. In Frantic Factory, you find a Donkey Kong arcade machine where you play as Mario and save Pauline from the evil Donkey Kong. The first time you beat it, you get a golden banana. The second time, Pauline is replaced by a Nintendo coin and the difficulty is cranked up. I grew up playing the Game Boy version where Mario could do a handstand, so the arcade version feels brutal. Playing a video game inside a video game where the hero is the villain is kind of weird. Beating the arcade rewards you with the precious Nintendo coin. When you collected 15 banana medals, Cranky lets you try his jetpack game. It was developed in '83 by Ultimate Play the Game, which later became Rare. Jetpack is without doubt the hardest part of DK64. Even with save states, it was still frustrating. You fly around in a spacesuit, collecting ship parts and fuel, while avoiding enemies from every direction. In the later levels, a rare coin appears. Once you collect it, you can finally die in peace. Every time you see Cranky afterwards, he asks you to play Jetpack again. Seriously, who would want that? The final battle against King K. Rool is a boxing match with 5 rounds, 1 for each Kong. Donkey Kong uses barrels to shoot K. Rool. Diddy shoots the lights down onto his head. Lanky throws bananas onto the stage, making K. Rool slip. Tiny shrinks down and attacks his toes inside his shoe. And Chunky uses his barrel to grow huge and deliver some heavy punches. King K. Rool is finally knocked out when Candy Kong distracts him, allowing Funky Kong to shoot him with a boot. DK finally gets his banana back, and the last thing you see is the whole DK crew sailing away on K. Lums's back as he swims into the sunset. Those were my most iconic moments from Donkey Kong 64. Did I miss your favorite? Please let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. And for more iconic moments, check this video out right here.